Hey Nick, can you help me? I'm gonna have you shoot down
kick it off, ready?
Don't call me up.
Yeah. Startup Weekend. You got it. Woo.
No pressure.
This is incredible.
15 seconds. You got 3 minutes.
And our path to viability, we're going to have a market cap. So we're gonna get things going. If you're way in the back, we have seating, so we're gonna ask everybody to get a good seat. Here we have enough seating for a good 12 or 15 plus people. We have lots of seats. We're going to have the judges come down. I don't know where we lost. I don't know if we have all our judges. Hopefully we have all of our judges. We've got the 4 chairs here. We have this channel. He's still here. He's there. There he is. And if you're way in the back, we're going to have everybody come on from the back. And we have these seats here for those lovely ladies. We have some people that are from the Friends of Entrepreneurism. We want you to come get a seat, a good seat, so you can relax and not stand. So if there is a seat available, come please join us. And I want to say, first of all, this has been a great, amazing weekend, and I'm so excited to see what's going to happen on stage tonight because I have no idea. I'm going to bring up one of our facilitators. We've had 2 amazing facilitators over the weekend, Mark Hadley and Ian Castillo down from Iowa City and Techstars. And we're going to get the show on the road here with 4 amazing teams that have worked diligently. So put your hands together and Mr. Ian Castillo.
Oh, that is super great. How's everybody doing? Can you guys hear me okay? Because I can't hear myself, so that's fine. Thank you so much for coming out on your Sunday evening. These teams have worked diligently for basically the past 2.5 days. From Friday night, they started with an idea and had no idea what they were getting themselves into. And by midday today, people were practicing pitches from companies that they made up literally like hours before. We'll go relatively quick. We'll go over the judging criteria. But before we do that, we're actually going to bring up one of the organizers, have them say a couple words about the sponsors.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. This is the most fun I've had at Fairfield Collab, except for when we got to smash walls down with sledgehammers a couple of years ago. I didn't participate on a team. I got to just float around and soak up the vibes of all the people that were working hard and researching and making this happen, creating logos, ideas, merging ideas. And it's such an awesome process, whether you're right in the mix or you're on a team. Encourage everyone to share this event, knowledge of this event, to everyone you can. Couldn't have done it without all of our sponsors. US Cellular, huge thanks to them. DKH, FIDA, Iowa Wind and Solar, MUM College of Business, Biz Training, Global ID, Centered Wealth, Natel, Noise Law Office, SEO Design, the Arbor Bar, Riley Designs, Big Game Software, Big Tree Marketing, and we had a lot of help from our coaches, our mentors, Marla for the food, and everyone that helped her out, keeping things running smoothly. That's the best I've eaten over the weekend in a really long time. Back to Ian.
So these are your 4 judges. They don't know this yet, but they're about to introduce themselves. So one by one, I'm going to have them stand up, turn around, yell their name, what they do, and then just sit down and do this 3 more times. Cool. So.
My name is Jeffrey Smith. I founded a company called SEO Design Solutions in 2006 that helps businesses basically increase their rankings, revenue, and reach by using search engine optimization. We have a training course called SEO Bootcamp. It's going to be one of the prizes. It will essentially teach you how to do SEO yourself, as well as some software that we created along the way. It's called the SEO Design Framework and SEO Ultimate Plus. They're both for WordPress, so they help businesses basically become more visible when people type in keywords in search engines.
Hi, I'm Cliff Rose, and I'm the director of the Concept of Market Institute at MUM. I've been with MUM for 2 years now, and this project and this course is establishing a really strong foundation here in Fairfield. I've been in marketing for a little over 30 years. I was the director of marketing for an advertising agency called American Marketing Systems in Chicago, and had clients that ran from small startup businesses all the way to Fortune 500 companies. So thrilled to be a part of
Hello, Fairfield. Yeah, I'm Ben Picard. I'm a local kid from here. Last couple of companies that were out in Silicon Valley. We sold driver's side to Advanced Auto Parts for $18.5 million, but $18.5 million doesn't go as far as it used to these days. Now I'm growing a company right here in Fairfield called Punctual Health, and we're eliminating wait times at doctors' offices because apparently that's something of a problem out there. And just thrilled to be a part of the CoLab community, Startup Weekend here, and for all the entrepreneurs out there, looking forward to judging you.
Daniel Ross. For about 4 more hours, I'm the CEO of Global ID Group, and I'm actually stepping back from that position as of Monday. But we'll continue in an advisory role in the company. But Global ID tests for GMOs around the world. We do sustainable agricultural certification around the world, lots of other things in the area of food safety, et cetera, et cetera. It's been about 11 years. We've gone through rounds of venture. We were bought by a private equity firm about 3.5 years ago and sold to another private equity firm about 6 or 8 months ago. So it's been quite an adventure. The company has grown substantially in Fairfield during all those years. So we've, my entrepreneurial career, I've had 4 companies I've started and exited over the years in software, in consumer services, in health products, and direct response, and global ID has been a fantastic adventure all these years. So I've pretty much seen everything from the entrepreneurial side of things, from starting companies again with my own money and bootstrapping and sleeping on floors and working 3 jobs to traditional venture capital and now private equity. So it's always fun to work with entrepreneurs. As one of the founding members of the Fairfield Entrepreneurs Association, so always very interested in encouraging, helping, and mentoring entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you, judges, for volunteering your time. So now we're going to go pretty quickly over the judging criteria that the judges are going to be looking over for each team. So 3 big ones. The first one's validation. Basically, do you have a problem? And did you go out and do any sort of market research? Did you do some customer discovery? Execution. Do you have an MVP? Do you have a prototype? Do you have something to basically show for the past 2 days? And then your business model. Is your problem unique? Has someone already solved it? What is your value proposition? So this is the format for the pitches. 5 minutes of pitching and then 3 minutes of Q&A from the judges. So it's going to be a firm stop at those 5 minutes. So I will start clapping once that's over. So don't need me too much, but I will get you off the stage. But the judges will have 3 minutes. If there is a question, I'll just let them finish it out. But there will be 3 minutes as well. And remember to have fun, because tomorrow morning's work day, so enjoy your weekend. So from top to bottom, this is the order of the pitches. So first we'll have Cardexy, next we'll have Fantasy 31, third we'll have Waterfall and Electric, and the last team will be Sustainable Families. Cool. So it'll just be a minute for us to get the slide ready for the first team, and then we'll have Cardexy present first. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, judges. And thank you to all the organizers and the sponsors. This has been a great weekend.
I guess we have to wait for...
Do you have any jokes?
I don't know, is it on? No. Testing? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Where do you want to be on this side?
Nicholas?
No, it's the obvious. Oh. Is that where you want to be?
Is that Mike's work?
Want to text that again? Can you hear me? Fantastic.
major problem for couples in long-term relationships is the lack of intimacy and connection. For example, 21% of divorcees blame their divorce on the loss of connection. 20,000 people a month search Google for the terms sexless marriage and intimacy issues. We offer the solution, Cardexy. Cardexy is a romance and fun card game for couples to reignite the intimacy in their relationship. Our mission is to encourage a sense of childless play and connection in couples in a respectful and balanced way.
The Cardexy kit contains 20 cards with 4 themes involving activities such as role-playing, challenges, riddles, other sorts of creative, fun games to play. The kit also includes a how-to booklet and an intimacy tips booklet. The how-to booklet provides overviews for stories, design and decor suggestions to set the scene, as well as dialogue and actions to take.
Our target market. We're targeting the face-to-face game market, which is booming in the United States. In 2016, board games were the single most funded item on Kickstarter. We're also targeting the e-commerce, personalized market. And personalized products have a higher perceived value. Our demographic is couples aged 35 to 60 who have lost the spark in their relationship.
People that we spoke to agree that monotony and routine definitely creep into their relationships over time. And if you have a busy career and children, that also makes it hard to maintain that loving feeling. Just one example of some feedback that we got said this is a great idea. Anything that breaks the pattern, seeing your partner in costume, you see them in a different light. And we did some research showing that 2,400 people search each month for romantic games with a cost per click of 26 cents, resulting in low competition.
Our competitors. There are dozens of romance-based card games, but they're mainly activity prompts. For example, just offering a truth or dare. Our main competitor is the bedroom game, a 6-category card game, and one of them being a role-playing and fantasy game. Virtually all of our competitors are more focused on the sexually explicit aspect of the relationship. Cardexy is different and it aims to evoke more mystery, romance, and fun for the couple.
Which brings us to some of our unique selling points, such as the option to personalize the card characters with your own headshots, photos. We want you to focus on the romance part of it, creativity, just having fun and adventure and hamming it up.
We plan to roll out by selling the Cardexy product on our own website where they can personalize it, like Karen said, put their faces in the images. And the non-personalized versions will be sold in stores and via Amazon. We plan to advertise through pay-per-click, search engines, Google type ads, social media promotions, and trade show. We also have an expanded product line, which includes specialty themes, for example, as well as the basic Cardexy card deck. We might have a special theme like a space theme or a Victorian theme. We also plan an app for a mobile app.
So let's talk money. We calculated the cost of manufacturing to be about $10 per kit. We want to start the retail at $30 per kit. And we also anticipate some add-on sales from costumes and props. We calculated the cost of acquisition per customer to be $5, which results in a $15 profit per kit.
There's a mic on the table.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Was a really bad compare.
I have a question for Dave.
So 3 minutes will start. Yeah, I had a first question. So.
Nice job. I thought you presented really well.
Okay.
So I know you might not have had a whole lot of time to do a lot of research into indirect marketing, anyway, typically cost of good, the spread between cost of goods and the retail price is typically 5 to 7 times. So it seemed to me that your cost of goods relative to the price that you're going to sell it for seems a little low if you're going to have enough gross margin profit to be able to pay for your needs. So it raised a little bit of a question for me.
Yes. The price of $30 was the non-personalized product. The personalized product, we think that the price can be much higher. And that's where they submit their own pictures to be put on the product.
Oh wait, so you're saying that the product could be personalized to an individual or to a couple?
Yes. So that the face covers the cards is a picture of a couple, maybe in like a knight's outfit, and then they submit their photos, and so it's individualized for that couple. So that price point might be like one customer said they would pay $65 for a product like that.
The $10 price was actually based on having a customised version. So we may get the actual manufacturer price down quite a lot for the ones that aren't customised.
Yeah, I think it's a really good concept. I think that definitely it's all about creating a brand that people really gravitate to. My question would be around the cost per acquiring customer. Typically, I've done some products that go on the net, and 26 cents per click would be very, very low in general. You guys have some experience with that. And 5%, the response rate would be very, very high. In general, response rates are often 1%, 1/10 of 1%. So you have to really do some modeling around that, because that's going to ultimately determine how much you need to charge for the product that you're working on. But that all can change a lot if you get traction and brand recognition, and of course the market just kind of comes to you. But just getting out there and knocking on doors, in essence, with pay-per-click is to be pretty expensive.
And one thing, obviously this would be like a second phase, but we do envisage that there will be a strong community element of this where people that enjoy the product share their experiences and stories online and social media, get kind of a viral effect.
Yeah, and the viral thing, that completely changed the whole model.
But you have to get to that.
Yeah, exactly. So that might be part of your model. You need X number of dollars to get to viral mass adoption.
Yes. That's 3 minutes. Yeah. We're done. Yeah, you're good. Thank you. So up next we'll have Fantasy 31 here in a couple moments.
Make sure you use that mic.
Is it working?
All right, hey, I'm Ty Ward. I'm here to introduce you guys to Fantasy 31. How many people in here have ever played a fantasy sports game? All right, a few of you. That's good. All right, so if you guys that haven't, it's a way to take real-life sporting events, turn it into points, and you can compete against your friends for bragging rights and or money. It's been around for 50 years in many, many forms. And look, annually about $7 billion in this country are spent on fantasy sports each year. Fantasy 31, we're going to make a head-to-head mobile game that you can play against your friends and play fantasy. We want to feel like we are the gateway drug to harder fantasy that people are going to get into for the mobile users. All right. The team, me, Tony, David, Samson. Fantasy has become big money since the federal legalization. It's legal in 42 states to play for money. The problem is now that the expert sharks are able to go in and they dominate all of the average players. The normal player spends about 4 hours per week messing with their fantasy rosters and about 9 hours per week doing research. That's a lot of time, but they still can't compete with the experts who probably spend 30 hours doing this, and they can't compete against them. So the average player is getting their butts kicked in these competitions. They need something where they can play that's fun again. The average fantasy player is also 38 years old and male, while the average mobile gamer is, the casual gamers are 26 years old and female, and the core mobile gamers are 30 years old and male. So fantasy players can definitely come down in age if we attract that market. Our solution, mobile app, quick and easy to play. Play against people you know. Stay true to what fantasy sports is. Don't change the rules on them so that people that love fantasy sports can still play this and feel like it's a game that they love. And you can play for bragging rights and or money where it's legal. All right, here's screenshots from our full working demo that we have. I want to remind everyone we are not graphic designers. We are almost all developers. So these do not look pretty. We would definitely want to hire a graphic designer. Player spends $500 a year on their fantasy teams. Performance and review. 10%, so when we're doing these projections, we projected 10% of the downloads will turn into active users. And we talked to a guy in Iowa City who does mobile games, and he said that with a combination of microtransactions and ads, we could expect $5 per user, per active user. So that's where we got our gross income. And for our 3 months out, we want to get 1% of the fantasy world to try our products. We felt like that was conservative. Startup costs, got to do a lot of marketing, got to get a lot of hardware, got to do a lot of data and licensing. Our business model is we're creating a free game. We want people to play it, and we want them to be a part of the infrastructure. Competition. There's a lot of companies that are doing it. FanDuel, DraftKings, Draft Day, they're the fantasy companies. The other two games are social companies or social media, regular games you might be playing. Our competitive advantage is that we're going to be head-to-head, and that's inherently more social than playing against 10,000 randoms. And yeah, there's a lot of apps in the store, and there's not a lot of apps doing this. So whether that's good or bad. David and Samson to the stage. I felt like I was speed talking. I apologize. There was a lot of it. Hi, judges. How you guys doing?
Hey. I like the concept. I think there is room to slice off parts of the fantasy world, sports world. I think 1% is everyone's dream, and every business plan I've ever seen get 1% of something. No one ever gets 1% until they become a monster, but it may not need 1%. So I think in general, I think that's a nice niche that could be carved out, that could be a lucrative one.
Awesome, thank you.
Nice job, Ty and team. Ty, you mentioned that a lot of mobile users don't play fantasy games, and fantasy game players aren't necessarily, too much on mobile. I'm hoping you can explain that a bit more, and how you guys reconcile that. paradox or whatever you want to call it?
That was mostly through our surveys. We sent out surveys, or we walked around surveying people to ask them those questions. And yeah, the fantasy players tended to be a little bit older, and so they weren't playing mobile games very often. And maybe they were playing 2 hours per week, 1 hour per week. The people we knew that were playing 2 hours per day weren't going into fantasy as much. So we saw that there was a lot of separation between the two markets right there. So if you could bridge that gap, and you could bring the casual gamers into fantasy, and fantasy into casual gaming, there's a lot of crossover room there. That's what the data seemed to tell us. And the data was very small sample size. It's us asking our friends, so caveat.
Absolutely. And then you mentioned really in the last slide about competitive advantage being the head-to-head challenge component of yours. Is that unique to some of these other competitors that you mentioned out there have that?
Playing one-on-one, but they're not trying to get you to play against friends that are in your friend book. We would like you to actually spread this game to your friends, and I want to play me versus Ben so I can get the bragging rights for the week. So they do have heads-up playing, but they don't have it's not very social when you don't know the person. It's easier to smack talk a guy you went to college with than it is some guy who probably lives in Canada somewhere, you know. So we're actually trying to make it so it's not anonymous. You're not playing against anonymous people, but playing against your friends and make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more social, more smack talk, more engagement, more people staying within the ecosystem.
Okay, great. And I really like the network effect that could create. And just for the record, there would be no bragging rights in the Ty versus Ben. This Ty would get
That's fine.
You know that.
That's fine. Thank you, guys.
Put this down for normal sized people. Really down.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Texas. I'm here with my team. We have Waterfall Electric, our creation for Startup Weekend. And we're showing you the business as it will be, created by our team. 4 core members, Randy Kringle, Keisha Nelson, Donald Halbert, and me, Nancy Lindbergh. And our goal is to end up reselling hydropower systems at a 40% profit. So, for those of you who love solar energy, this may come as a surprise, or you may have already have an educated answer for it, but at the moment there's a high capital cost for solar, and there's various ways around that. Now, another way is to just use a different system, hydropower. Hydropower is just almost as convenient as nuclear power in a lot of ways. Now, it's also flexible, except for the fact that it's not as flexible as solar power, so there's an advantage there. Okay. And hydropower on a utility scale is widespread. As this chart shows, China and Europe, mainly Norway, are the largest users of hydropower, with the US as the third. Now, what are the average costs? This data might be out of date, but solar power is slightly above the cost of residential power here in the United States. Now, the effective cost is lower, however, it's much lower for hydropower. Here's an example of a municipal scale hydropower setup. one can install in their own house. So, who are we? Waterfall Electric. We are people who affiliate with the manufacturers. We present, just like we're doing today, but in a much more professional way with real money on the line. Although, actually, Jeffrey's offering is pretty damn convincing. And based on our presentations, we know that the customers are out there. So, the cost savings are real. There's some markets we'd like to explore. Going into emergency settings is one of them, but where the bread and butter is to just make presentations to residential customers and municipalities. So just man on the street interviews. Most people say yes, who are decision makers. If they say no, it's usually because they're not decision makers. This is to at least let us pitch to them. So, our company goes ahead, which chances are it might. We have our 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, half-year, and 1-year targets. And then, what do we need? We need money for different things. And then, this sector as a whole is growing around 17% a year. Mostly industrial scale. The missing link is the municipal and residential scale. So, today we're looking for $4,000, and that way we can go ahead, see if we can meet our 40% profit goal, and start setting up a business, and get all of these things. And we know that the market will grow from less than a terawatt globally right now to more than almost a terawatt and a half in 7 years. All right, thank you very much. So if Randy, Keisha, and Donald could join me. Oh yes, Randy will be handing out things for the judges, some examples.
All right. Okay, so you were saying that the main bread and butter of the industry would be going after residential services. So the idea would be, if you have municipal water, which we all do at this point, I'm going to go in and sell them a turbine that will essentially save them X amount on their water bill, or their general electric. How does that work?
It works by reducing the water pressure to a house. So we might be shooting ourselves in the foot. That's in a very special case situation. Now, just as a thought experiment, imagine that your power goes out. However, you have a turbine connected to the water system. As long as the water system still functions, every time you fill the bathtub, take a shower, through a turbine, generating just enough electricity to charge your cell phone or whatever. So it's a very that's a huge opportunity to just put a turbine in the system.
Did you mention what the cost would be, retail price to the consumer for the turbine?
I know that the net cost would be around half of what traditional electric service would be in a situation where they have abundant free-flowing water, like a small stream next door. So how that amortizes just depends on what the size of the house is, etc. But example, off-the-shelf turbine you could probably get in the $5,000 range, or if you make it yourself in the $2,000 range, and probably a couple thousand people in the United States have already made them themselves using the ultimate kits.
Just wondering, can any, I guess, plumber install one of these turbines?
Yes.
for residential scale. If it's municipal scale, like on a water tower, then it would be a crew from municipal water department.
So in a water tower, you pay for electricity to pump the water up,
Yes.
right? And then so then gravity pulling it down. You're saying you get more energy from it.
Real quick, thank you so much for the Arbor for allowing us to have this here. Give it up around to them.
I, by the grace of my family, was taken care of. But there are so many families that are put into this system every single year, and they did not get the support that I got from my family. They go through self-sufficiency programs and try to bolster a sense of community, but ultimately they end up being cycled back into a system that put them there. And they're now multi-million nationwide nonprofits, specifically implemented for homelessness. Opportunities to fund this would come from grants, private donations, corporate donations. The business itself, as it grows and chapters begin to blossom across the state, will be required to generate a portion of their own funds specifically for their site. They'll also be generating income from the families themselves who come through the program. As part of the life skill training, they will be required to allocate a portion of that money to build their own mobile tiny home. And finally, last but not least, money will be generated from a curriculum that I am currently creating called The Light from the Sun. This is a series of interchangeable sustainability modules that can be arranged any which way to allocate the needs of a given target audience. It can be dovetailed into a DHS program. It can be used for disaster relief, mental health services, used in schools, you name it. First and foremost, the greatest need for this program would be to get temporary housing. I don't know if you guys know this, but the closest shelter to Fairfield is in Ottumwa. The next closest is in Des Moines. It's the awesome team of people that I had the opportunity to collaborate with this weekend. We are Sustainable Families. Please check out our website.
Because it's such big need in our community. But with that said, I think it's important to be able to explain the monetization of the program. And that's one thing that we really weren't able to hit on. And so I think if you were to focus on what are the financial needs and how it would be monetized, then I think you could make some progress. And I think you will be able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I think.
Yeah, really powerful, really well done. And the baby on stage, what to do, that like my heartstrings, like, no, really top tier. Who would be the payer?
It would be social services, governmental agencies, mental health institutions, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are not aware of the kind of needs that we have. In Fairfield, no less the state of Iowa, and rural Jefferson County.
And I brought the youth from the farmers market, and they came in the co-lab, and they just joined the team. Some of them are here. And there's just this overwhelming response to the community needing to come together and provide so many avenues for building the community, and it really starts in the home.
That's time.
Thank you guys. Coming off the stage. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything more about the process now?
ask the judges a couple minutes to tally up the numbers, to deliberate on the speeches. We're actually going to be handing out Post-it notes and pens for the crowd favorite. No, is that
crowd favorite? Very important crowd favorite. We want your vote.
And then we'll take a couple minutes to do that.
Can everybody please give another round of applause to Mark and Ian, all the while we let the judges deliberate for the next couple of minutes, refresh their water or whatever they need to do, a couple of announcements and thoughts on this evening. It's not about first place. It is not about second place. This is about a much bigger, higher elevation picture. It is so wonderful to be in this bar and doing this, which is creating community and entrepreneurship and creativity for this town and beyond. And I just applaud everybody for supporting this. And we're lucky to have him here, but Aaron came down from Cedar Rapids and is part of NuboCo. And the Creative Corridor, if you don't know this, there is a whole creative community, not just in Iowa. In 2 weeks, in 2 weeks is the next Startup Weekend. So if you have an idea and you are enjoying what you got from tonight, you can do it again or do it yourself in 2 weeks in our team, who will be producing, along with Mark and Ian, Iowa City Startup Weekend in just 2 weeks. And they still have, is the rate still, are we still at the early bird, or is there a special?
It's on Friday.
It's still early bird. I have to, hold on, I'm sorry, but this was just like, for me, this weekend, I was just so psyched that we had this past and present, and I just was so happy when Samson showed up and was like, I'm doing this. And Samson was here, and I just want to, one more time, Samson went to like several teams and just was like, you know, he was like, what are you doing here? No, Lee here, I used, should I don't know, we need another 5? We can play music. We're going to let everybody take, I'm not going to even do this old comedy routine. One more time, though, I do also want to thank Marla once again. And what was the other gal? Stephanie, who was amazing in the kitchen. So for the amazing food and all, and the fact that we ended with the Iman was just incredible. I could.
I'll take yours. Okay, thanks. Great.
I'm just yeah. Well, actually, the weekend is the easiest part. It's right. In some ways, for me,
It's like she's sitting in the way back. I'm like, it's just so interesting how she just doesn't include herself as part of it. I'm like, be in here with us. But she doesn't.
Did you sign up for your free iPad? Okay, you left my wallet upstairs. I'll be right back down. Can I start a tab? Okay.
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of common ties and all of that. It's kind of good, you know. Yeah, you just sort of like makes it your business model. It's not really working. It's okay. I'm just going to change the context. I'm looking back to it. this much money, how to get to that immediately. Just say 5 number units. Don't send me anything less than that. Don't send me any opportunity that doesn't get me. Thanks so much. That's pretty good. I mean, they gave me a free pass. They said I needed distractions. So, it's like, it's not going to be stressful for me. It's really nice around. I like the outside. It's been really good. I mean, the one thing that really coming in is I work a lot by myself with the power of the team. Like, I look at our team, like, no one person can work together. I don't really even get a feel for that either. I feel like everybody has something that walk together. Yeah, and I've been given that advice before to kind of work on a team. I think my ego's in the way, sometimes it's just like, I want to go and live in like a Periscope community or something like that. It's not checking out, but there's probably dynamic and politics and everything too, right? I mean, that's like, on the back, and you're like, you can't get out, right? It's like, I generally used to think a lot about that. Like, it makes more sense, you know. You've got 3 people doing something to do with that. Like, this world is everybody doing the house, everybody doing the lawn, everybody running around like chickens with their head down. Nobody got a chance to make a meal and eat together because of their life. Yes, it is. Everybody is a lot of fun. Big pipes. I mean, we used to come in, you know, and down there with lunchroom, like, I would throw out big leftovers and the IFAs and whatever. These days, it's like, well, that's like a $10 meal, you know, that's a $5, you know, such a surprise with the money, you know. Yeah, I like to do like a crock pot. I do a crock pot, and you do the lunch, and then you do the dinner. I think, life purpose, divine purpose for doing what you're meant to be doing is kind of trumps all of that. I mean, there are people that do amazing things in the world. They say that they're doing their God-given gift and putting that in the world.
1, 2?
They're a little bit, just do what you can.
Hey everyone, just before we come back with the voting, and for the People's Choice, as well as judges and first, second, and third places, plus honorable mentions, we want to just let everybody know there is the potential for a free iPad, and we would love for you to help our sponsor, US Cellular, by going into the back and just answering 3 questions, and you're on the list for an iPad. It would be great to support US Cellular. If you feel like it, just take a second to say hello in the back to, is it Chip? Cole, sorry, Cole. I knew it was 4 letters, okay? Anyway, US Cellular in the back, and we're going to be continuing in just a moment. Can we make sure we thank Charles for the AV, audiovisual, for the installation and helping us Marlo's husband? I forgot to thank Charles.
Sure. If you want to have closing words,
I'm gonna go.
If you want to,
The logo.
Let's Kevin.
Really the same.
Kevin.
I was thinking
I just want to make sure we thank Charles.
Colored in. Just an outline on the
Thank you so much.
your logo for sustainable
That was real difficult to pick up and have to do some networking with that guy. I had on a cell phone and do some functionality. I guess if you didn't, I was comfortable with it. So, I got that hooked up. That's an expensive camera. really must be something way here out
Welcome back. Kevin's band to come out for afterwards. Yeah. Celebrate that. That would be awesome.
All roads.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Hey, what are we doing?
Yeah, I want to thank Charles. And let's just bring everybody back in. Almost there. If you're in the way back there, come on back in. Anybody in the way back? Guy Harvey and everybody way back there. We forgot to thank Charles Brader, who helped us with our audio-visual for tonight, so we could have the technology. Big round of applause for Charles. And I'm going to hand it over to Kevin because it takes a village, it takes a full team, and Kevin can just talk a little bit about our teammates that made within the collab, if you want, but because it did take a village.
Absolutely, and as a lot of the organizers got to experience this firsthand. In fact, how many organizers ended up on a team? Here, Karen, put your hand up. That's 3. So, like, at least half of the organizers of this event actually ended up on a team. And if my idea had been selected, I'm just saying. Thank you, everyone that put in the time. As I was saying to Lee earlier, this weekend just sailed by. This was the easiest part of the whole thing. And the time going into making this happen is an investment, and it's so worth it when you see it here tonight. And thank you, everyone that's put in the time. Charles up there washing the dishes. Thanks for the tech help.
Very cool. Is this on? Yeah? No?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Cool. So, we're going to go with the crowd favorite next. And then we're going to say, a couple of Techstar words, and then we're going to go into the first, second, third honorable mentions. But the next that we're going to present is our crowd favorite, Sustainable Families. Congratulations, guys. Give yourself a round of applause. I am genuinely serious. You guys. So, founders, so many resources. Please use it. If you have any questions or concerns or whatever, please feel free to shoot me an email or come find me after the event or come find Mark. We're happy to help facilitate and light that fire for entrepreneurship. So what's next? 12% of the teams will continue to move forward. That's not bad or good. It's just how dominoes fall. But some of you will fail. Don't stop learning. I'm not really into that. Please check out Startup Weekends. Don't make this your last one. If you're interested, take a look at Startup Digest to get a little bit more information. Check out Startup Week, which is once a year in Boulder. Jay Hoover just recently.
The closest one is in Minneapolis.
The closest Startup Week is in Minneapolis. And there's many opportunities for you to keep moving forward here. So show some love. Show us some love. Your next Startup Weekend is in Iowa City in 2 weeks, October 13th through the 15th. Yeah, woo. If you're interested in organizing one again, talk to the organizers here and say, hey, can we bring this back in 6 months? Let them know, because if they don't know, then they're going to think that no one wants to do this again. I believe the next slide should be our third place team. So, without further ado, Waterfall Electric.
You guys, come on up here. Awesome job, awesome concept, and really thinking out of the box, out of the typical alternative energies and such. And Matthew, when you led off with 40% margin, I was like, yes. And then later on, when Keisha, you handed me this picture of, I don't know, this kind of submarine turbine thing, I was like, yes, I want one of those in my house. But then I was like, how much would that cost me? And I thought back to the presentation, and we didn't really spell out the price per unit and cost per unit, and then also tax rebates and any legalities and such. And as we know from solar, the state of Iowa give it and then take it away and such, and destroys industries. And then also just distribution. How are we going to get these things out there and installed? The plumber, then there's the electrical component and such, and I'm sure there would be a cost associated with that. So it's really those questions that the judges and I had that equated to third place to answer that. Let's think that through and keep going with it. Congrats, guys. Surprise! You get SEO Ultimate WordPress Framework and Plugin, a $140 value from SEO Design Solutions. In addition to that, you get a Fairfield Collab Flex 40-hour-a-week membership. That's 1 week of free membership at the Fairfield Collab. Enjoy.
place, we have Fantasy 31.
You guys want to say excellent idea. Love the presentation. Myself, I'm not done fantasy football or anything of that nature. I thought it was a great game. So let's see if you got second place. So you're going to win SEO Bootcamp training course. It's going to teach you how to use your brains to rank higher in Google by applying search engine optimization. You want to get a Fairfield Collab Flexibility membership, which is 2 weeks free collab. So we have that. So maybe thank you guys.
So we're going to do it slightly different. We're actually going to have our honorable mention next. Sustainable families. Give it up for sustainable families.
This is not honorable mention because we didn't feel it was appropriate to put sustainable families in the same categories as our other businesses. This is a whole different thing. This is a nonprofit. This is a community-based idea. So we didn't really feel it's appropriate to even compare it because it's not about the business model. It's not about the customer, all those things. It's great for startups, but we are doing a whole different thing. And so we first want to acknowledge and honor how important this is, how grateful we are that you guys want to take this on, create this here in Fairfield. And so the judges as a whole want to offer a half hour of our time, sit, have coffee, any contact, connect. So I think it's very creative. I think that as you put your attention more on the different aspects of the business, how you can monetize it, develop the game, I think there's a huge, we felt that there's a huge market for your particular Sondheim shows. So you each get 2 minutes. So congratulations. And something that's really important is that Steve Jobs said that the one thing that he felt was the most important thing for everybody to be a success was the passion. Not necessarily what's contained in the product, but maintaining the passion about the product to make it a success, to make it become a reality. And so we want to support you. So congratulations. Thank you.
So before everyone escapes out of here, can I have every single person who was either on a team or who organized who helped us out and fix some really awesome food up here for a group photo? That would be super cool if you could all up here right now. Everyone who is on a team, if you're a mentor, I don't know, you guys are like, I just want to do it at home.
It's like the whole room.
Who's taking the picture?
Can you snap one for me? Yeah, of course. Hey, Mark.
All the way up.
We're going to need that light.
The other way.
There we go. And 3, 2, and 1. Of course, we're doing more than that, but
I don't know where to look.
we have several cameras, so
All right.
Honor serving with you. Thanks, man. Yeah, sure thing, guy.
Thank you, companies. Thank you, judges. Thank you for the fun. Thank you.